Hi. Questions about drum kit setup and ergonomics. Um, this is my channel, Lean Bear. My name is Matt, and I am a beginning drummer. I'm just trying to learn how to get my kit set up properly, so that I can learn properly. Hang on a second here. Where am I there? Okay. All right. So this is my kit. I got it about, I don't know, 3 months ago, and these days I've been taking it a bit more seriously, practicing every day, sort of wading through the endless supply of tutorial videos. It's when you're a beginner, it's sometimes difficult to be able to distinguish between good advice, bad advice, useful information, useless information, maybe even detrimental advice and information. So I've just been trying to balance what I take to be useful information and helpful information with just my own common sense and what feels right. And so, well, where to begin? You can see this is my electronic kit. It's nothing special. It's really basic. It's a Korean brand that I don't even think it's sold outside of Korea. It's a company called Semic. They make pianos that are sold abroad, and maybe guitars, but yeah, basically to anyone outside Korea, it's a no-name electronic drum kit. It's very basic. The snare is too small. This is my first kit that I've ever had, and so I really lack a frame of reference to compare, which is a good thing in some ways, I think. Just starting out. Right, so I'm just putting this out there to see if anyone with a lot more knowledge and experience than I have would be so kind as to offer any advice or guidance. Anything would be appreciated. So I guess you could probably see this well enough. I probably don't have to move the camera any closer, but you can see the way I have it set up now is in a symmetrical arrangement with the snare pretty much right in the middle, just below navel height, pretty much level, maybe with a very slight tilt towards me, very slight. Hi-hat, crash, tom, 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 ride. Now so you can probably see, it's hard to tell what you can see because my eyesight is not too good, but all right. So you can see that it has the structure of the frame is such that it's got, this tube frame, basically, with 2 feet that are currently splayed like this, away from me, like that. For the long, until tonight, I had them like this because it felt more stable. Now it feels a little bit less stable somehow with the feet splayed out in this direction. But the reason that I did that is like where to begin. Okay, so I guess what I'll do is I'll begin with this, with my preconceptions of how a drum kit should be set up, which just basically comes from attending concerts throughout my life and looking at drum kits from, on the stage from the perspective of the audience, but also basically helping run music festivals for years and setting up a fair number of drum kits. I learned how to do that, and this is the way I always thought a drum kit should be set up, and this is the way that I always set them up at festivals that I helped run, which looks like this. I gotta I need to take my camera out of the picture here. Okay, so looks like that. The kick drum facing straight ahead, away from facing straight ahead towards the audience. And in the case of this picture, courtesy of Getty Images, you can see that the drummer's his posture, he's sitting angled toward his left with his left foot on the hi-hat pedal, and of course the kick drum pedal oriented straight ahead to 12 o'clock, and the hi-hat pedal roughly, I don't know, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so even though I don't have a kick drum, obviously I just have a pedal, but that's the way I had this oriented up until tonight, when I couldn't sleep, and I just, for lack of anything better to do, I got up and I started tweaking this, and I was just I've got a bad shoulder. My right shoulder is I've got a frozen right shoulder, basically. It's very slowly getting better, but sort of sitting at an angle such as this guy is sitting, and kind of like reaching around with my right arm to hit the floor tom, or even the middle tom, or the ride, was just it was a chronic, it was just uncomfortable. And so there's one thing that got me thinking about just reorienting everything. And so there are other pictures here, like this one. Same thing, kick drum facing straight out. That's the way I always seem to remember seeing it on stage. But then, look at this one. And it's like it's a double kick, 2 kicks, right? And in this case, the snare is at 12 o'clock, between the drummer's legs. Okay, so I realize that there's probably as many exact ways to set up a kit as there are drummers, but this got me thinking that, and I found this article called "Drum Setup and Ergonomics" at a site called nkmdrums.com, and it goes through step by step, starting with drone placement, and then snare straight ahead, and then kick off to about 1:30, and hi-hat off to about 10:30. And then in this example, there's so here's the hi-hat, or no, the ride, and floor tom appears here, and then the high tom. There's 2 toms in this kit setup, and then the crash. I've got 3 toms, so I'm looking at the crash placement. My crash is a bit further away than I would like, but there's not really a whole lot I can do about that, owing to the structure of the frame of the kit. I've got it about as close as I can get it, without actually moving the legs closer together. If I brought the legs a little bit closer together, I could bring that crash about another inch to the right, but I feel like bringing those legs, the frame legs, any closer together would I don't know, detract from the stability that it has, which I don't want to make it any less stable than it is. So that's what this basic idea is what I'm working with now, and of course with a middle tom, and let me see. Oops. No, not that one. There. Right. So I could get the crash another inch or so to the right, but it's like that wouldn't make a huge difference, and I'd have to, because of the structure of the frame, I would have to bring these legs like an inch in and an inch in, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not gonna actually play this thing right. Well, I can tap on I can very lightly do some upper body stuff, but I'm not gonna be hitting the pedals because it's really late at night. I'm in South Korea, wee hours of an early Monday morning, and there's a danger that I might bother the downstairs neighbor's rebar concrete apartment building, and I had noise complaints on Saturday morning, which is why I built this floating platform on Saturday afternoon. But I still haven't tested it out to see if I get another complaint. I don't want to do that at this hour. It's actually like a little bit louder to me, a little bit unnervingly loud in here in the room, louder than it was before. But I think that's because the energy from hitting the pedals is actually resonating through this platform and up, which is probably a good thing. But I'm still, there are foam feet, very thick foam that should be absorbing and dispersing the energy, mostly air underneath, and a big shag carpet, but I can't be sure right now. But yeah, anyway. So I've got the feet angled out this way so that I could get the I couldn't orientate the pedals symmetrically with the feet like this, and the pedals being out like that, they get in the way of each other. So I've got the feet splayed out like this, and the hi-hat pedal and the kick pedal like that, just outside the feet. And that way the hi-hat pedal is more or less where it would be in real life with a real kit, i.e. directly under the hi-hat pad. And so I don't know, I just thought I'd throw this out there to see if there's a kind soul out there that would offer any pointers, any advice. Do you think I'm on the right track? Am I doing something wrong? And another thing that occasioned this was I realized I had my snare drum a bit low. I'd like to get this thrown a little bit higher, but it's about as high as I can get it. This is Asia, and you know, South Korea. Even though South Koreans are like physically the biggest people in Asia, and there's a lot of tall men, a lot of tall and women, a lot of tall South Koreans, but they still things still tend to be undersized. You can see that my knees are probably about an inch and a half lower than my hips. I'm reading that I should kind of like be almost kind of like leaning forward a little bit into it, as we're kind of like gravitationally drawn a little bit more into the kit. I don't really feel that way, and I think it would be better if I could get the throne higher, but I think this is about as high as I can get it. But I did have I had the snare a bit too low, and the thing that made me realize that was looking at this guy's video. Right here, actually, I quite like this guy. I think he's a good teacher, and his name is Dimitri Fantini, and he's got a lot of positive comments under this video. This has to do with what he calls an open-close technique for drum rolls. So I'm not going to play through this whole video, but let's see if I can get to where he's demonstrating it right here.
Back finger should all be on the stick, and you should see this gap as well between the thumb and first finger. So all the back fingers on. It's against the hypothenar in the middle of that.
Now this is a problem for me because on my right hand, a little over a year ago, I fell down and broke my right little finger, and I am unable to make a fist with my right hand. I can bring my ring finger, I can curl that far enough to touch my palm. The little finger, the pinky, I can't I can't curl it in that far. So that's one problem that I'm facing with this technique.
And then we're going to first actually take our fingers off, back fingers I should say. So you have index and thumb on the stick. Next, with another stick, lift up this end. You're not allowed to move your hand. You're not allowed to move your fingers, your wrist, your arm. Only the stick pivots at the fulcrum. So it kind of seesaws. You lift it up and it falls back down, right? That's step one, the back fingers off. Step two, put the back fingers back on like I said in the beginning. So then the back fingers are on. And what you do is you make sure that your hand doesn't move, your wrist doesn't move, your arm doesn't move. The only things that move are the stick, which pivots at the fulcrum, and your back fingers. The back fingers specifically move with the stick, and they get opened by the stick. That's the key thing, so that you're not actually flinging them out, but they're getting pushed open while the stick goes up on the other end. This is why a big thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to do this with only one hand. This stage of practice is 2 hands, 2 sticks. So make sure it's always with both sticks, both hands. If you do it with one hand, a lot of people try to do this. It's not the same thing. Trying to push it open with your fingers. It's an entirely different mechanic and movement to try to do that, which isn't happening on the drums. So we have to push it up over here, and when that goes up, it goes down on the other side of the fulcrum. It goes down over here, and that's going to push your fingers open. So I really recommend you do it with another stick, like so. So do it really slow. The really key thing is that you don't let any of this move. Your wrist doesn't move, your hand, your arm, it stays completely still. All that moves, stick and your back fingers. So if you could do that slow, I then want you to hold it here. Kind of looks like that, like like a sock puppet, and you should be able to hold it with your fingertips like so, and then you close your fingers back to the first position. You can close them slow, you can close them fast, but we have this. Hold it and then close it back. Make sure you close back to a relaxed position. That means you're always going to be coming back to this to practice. So step 3 looks like this. Now what am I doing? I'm doing step 2, but I'm knocking it up fast. What's going to happen is the stick gets knocked up. On the other side, it goes down, pushes your fingers open with some actual force. And the first thing that's going to happen if you've never tried this before is your wrist is going to go back. Even if you let your fingers open a little, they're not going to open enough. They're going to be too slow opening. Your instinct is going to be to have your hand go back with a stick, like this. Even a little bit right there is too much. What I want you to try to master is getting it to stay completely still. And of course, you got to do the other hand as well. By the way, if you're having trouble mastering this, then the first step is actually mastering your grip and getting that truly right, making sure you're not making any mistakes. I have a free technique fundamentals course that you need to check out and go through. I'll put the link down below for you. So we're doing it fast, and I want you to hold it, open the fingers, and have your wrist go back up like that. No wrist going up. It's got to go down, dropping, and then it's got to hold there. Now, if you open it a ton, your pinky does not reach a stick, and that stick
That's
is
the
good with
problem
that.
that I have. My pinky
I would
doesn't
recommend
reach
when you
it.
can keep the pinky on, you use it. But it's not like 100% required to get a good grade here. So you've applied it to the drums, but how do you actually do like a proper double stroke?
Okay, so that's the technique that I've been trying to work on here, which I'm a long way from getting there, right? But so I'm still here, and that's the easy part. Actually doing what he's doing. Well, that's the first thing that made me realize that my snare was not high enough, because I was physically unable to do that even slowly, right? So, and it feels really awkward and unnatural, but I'm going to keep at it. But at least now it's physically possible for me to do it like slowly. I think it would help if I had a bigger snare head, but at least it's I know it's physically possible. So I mean, if you're watching this and you got anything to say about my setup and whatnot, maybe chime in about this. What do you think about this technique? He's able to do it really, really fast, really smooth. He says that your rolls are a lot more uniform and consistent with this technique than with just like bouncing. What he calls like high school music teacher drum rolls. Before I saw this technique, I had been doing something kind of similar, where I was kind of like, for more bounces, I was just using the thumb and forefinger, and then to modulate to get fewer bounces, I'd bring in the middle finger and then the ring finger, right? So for like 2 or 3 very quick bounces, bring the ring finger in. I'm just trying to finesse it that way, but it looks like if I could master this technique, there's a lot more precision that can be achieved with that. So now it's possible to work on that technique where the snare is now. I think the toms are, they're slightly above the snare, elevated enough that it's not really getting in my way, Overall, it feels better than like being over here like this and having to like swivel and reach around with this bad shoulder. This feels like much more the way to go. But yeah, that's where I am. Noob that I am. And I hope to hear from some kind soul out there who could, just any advice would be much appreciated. Okay, so anyway, if you watched through this, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I don't know, if I can't get to sleep, maybe I'll start a mixing stream. Work on some mixing. That's it for now. This is the Lean Bear channel. I am Lean Bear, aka Matt, and see you next time. Over and out.